lead the Women's Philanthropy Institute at the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. And I just want to start this session with a word of gratitude for my fellow panelists here, for Amplify Her Foundation, especially Marty and Laura. They have made this event happen. Of course, when they approached us to partner on this event, it was an enthusiastic yes. We love what they are doing. And gratitude to all of you. This is happening because you said yes, you showed up, and you are committed to women's and girls' causes and to giving to women and girls. So this session is really all about data, research, and then how we're moving it to action. The Women's Philanthropy Institute has been in charge of, has created the Women and Girls Index, and we've been doing that since 2019. And that research does nothing if folks like you are not reading it, are not implementing it. And so our conversation today is really about how to move data and research to action, and giving you concrete takeaways for that. So I do just want to ground us, though, in the most recent data that we have just produced. It just went public this past Tuesday. The most recent data that we have shows that in 2021, giving to women's and girls organizations hit a $10 billion milestone. It hit $10.2 billion. That is wonderful, but as Marty was sharing, that still comprises 1.9% of total charitable giving. So we hit this milestone, but that less than 2% statistic, that has been in place for the last decade of data that we have. When we look within the Women and Girls Index, we see that reproductive health is the top type of organization receiving funding. They received $1.8 billion of the total of 10.2 in 2021. In terms of the growth rate, we see that women's and girls organizations for civil rights and advocacy are growing the most, both over the last year of data that we have and the full decade. And I'll just close by saying, we've done this work for a while. We now have a decade worth of data. Every year when I look at the results and the numbers, I see, some years things are good, some years they're less good. And so from year to year, it's really hard to tell where things are going. And so now that we have a decade worth of data, we're able to see that while women's and girls organizations have experienced this growth, $10.2 billion is nothing to look at in any sort of negative way. We are barely keeping pace and often lagging behind other types of organizations. And so if this 1.9% is a number that matters to you, we need to grow women's and girls organizations and giving to those organizations faster. And so I'm really grateful to Maheen Kaleem of Grantmakers for Girls of Color, Sarah Hackey-Bird of Women Moving Millions, and Naran Khan of the Ford Foundation and of Girl Scouts of the USA. Thank you all for being here, and I'd just love to ask you, as we're talking about research and moving research to action, what stood out to you as you were reading the research? And thank you for doing so. And what do you think stood out that you'd like to share with the audience?
Thank you so much, and hello everyone. So Grantmakers for Girls of Color is a philanthropic intermediary that raises and regrants to organizations and social movements led by girls and gender-expansive youth of color. And we do that in very participatory ways where young people are articulating for us where areas of investment need to go, because we actually believe that they have the most capacity both to dream, to imagine new worlds, and also the most clarity about where investment needs to go. And when I was looking at the report, I noticed that the two top areas of giving were reproductive rights and health and ending violence against women and girls. And in the 2020, we launched as an intermediary, and we supported a lot of participatory research with girls and gender expansive youth about what was most important to them: reproductive rights and health and safety. And so it is heartening to see that where giving is going, although it needs to be more, is directly aligned with where girls and gender expansive youth are articulating needs to be a priority.
I just want to celebrate today. This is just extraordinary. I remember this day and making it a fundraising opportunity was just a seedling of an idea, and Women Moving Millions was a founding partner in that. So I just want to, stand up and do a Friday morning dance. But Women Moving Millions, for those of you who aren't familiar, is the largest philanthropic community focused specifically on empowering women's bold, collaborative leadership to move greater resources for gender equity. So we care a whole lot about this 1.9%. But I also care, and I'm sort of ending the week with just, I guess, measured optimism. I also look at that 7, crossing over that 10 billion and being somewhere around 7 when you started to do this measurement. And I just want to celebrate that because that's over $3 billion of work that executive directors, CEOs, heads of fundraising, funders have dedicated to this work. And so I just want to give a little love to that 3 billion. But I think it's, for us, I think it's really important. We spend a lot of time doing resource advocacy and making sure that people understand that there's this chronic lack of investment going to women and girls, even though we know we don't need to research it anymore. We know that women and girls are the most effective social change strategy out there. At the heart of every challenge is a woman who has a solution. And so, so today, everywhere I go, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. And I think that that's going to be the key, just reaching more audience, changing more hearts and minds, to be able to move that number up. So, thank you.
Fantastic. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing this morning? We're starting the morning talking about research, and I really want to thank you all for what you commissioned. I think it was out earlier this week, and I think you hand it to anyone and something will jump out based on your lived experiences, the work you do, your proximity. So I just strongly encourage everyone to take a peek at what they have. They have a lot of great resources in terms of summaries and things that are pretty quick to look at. Something that really jumped out at me was the actual decrease in relative funding for girls' recreation. Now, in this time window that we're looking at, there's so many urgent needs, human services needs focused on gender-based violence, all extremely real and urgent, things that we feel are urgent. At the same time, I'm thinking about girls specifically, and I'm thinking about their flourishing and how they thrive, how they experience joy. And those things, they're kind of building things, and they require investment too. And so this is less a comment on the decrease compared to other things and more a comment on we need to grow the pie, right? It's not a relative fight, it's not zero sum. We need to be much more abundant and much more giving for women and girls, and also afford them those opportunities to have adventure together, to be in the presence of a caring adult, to be with each other, experiencing life in a way that allows them to imagine and dream and look ahead with possibility.
Thank you. Yes, I love that. We have